can use cue and play together, and I want to show you how we do this. This is a very common gesture that DJs will use on physical hardware. You'll see this happen a lot now that I point this out. When you watch DJs play off of CDJs like this, you'll see how people are using the cue and the play button together. So let's start by holding this down. And now, as I'm holding it with my other hand, I can go ahead and click play. And as I do, I can let my hand off of both of those, and it's going to continue to play. So, and if I want to go back to the beginning, I'm not going to hit pause. I'm going to hit cue. And it goes right back to that orange triangle, which was set up to the very beginning. So again, I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to hit cue. And then with my other hand, I'm going to hit play. Let both hands off, and now it's playing. Now if I want to get back to the very beginning, do I hit play or do I hit cue? I hit cue. And gets back to the very beginning. And now the reason why it goes back to the very beginning is because, again, that's where the cue is set up to that triangle. Later on, we'll show you how we can actually move the cue and cue up to a different part within the song. We'll show you that next. But first, I want you to give this a shot. So go ahead and try that, and when you're ready to move on, go ahead and click next to move on to the next lesson. You are doing so awesome. I just want you to know that. We're going to keep going, and I'm going to show you how we can move the cue. So let's say we had the cue at the very beginning, which we have right now, but let's say we didn't want it there. Let's say we wanted it somewhere else in the track. Well, the way to move it would be this. I'm going to go ahead and start playing. And when I pause it, let's pause it right here. Now you'll notice that the cue is blinking. You see how that yellow light is blinking? That means it's ready to record my new cue. So I'm going to go ahead and hit cue, and you'll see what happens is that jumped over. So if I look over the deck, we'll see that that orange triangle is no longer at the very beginning. It is now where I just set it to be. So now when I hit this, it's taking it from that point. Great. So what I want you to do is you can choose anywhere in the song you want, but I want you to move the temporary cue. And then I want you to move it back. So I want you to move it somewhere to your liking, and then for good measure and for good practice, I want you to move it back to the very beginning. Okay? Great. And once you've done that, I want you to go ahead and click next so we can move on to the next lesson. Now I want to show you how we can use the jog wheel to rewind or fast forward our track. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play first. You'll notice that this is spinning, and I can rewind this back by moving in a counterclockwise manner, or I can fast forward by using a clockwise motion. And let's say that's where I wanted my cue. So going back to what we just did, I can go ahead and hit a cue there, and now have that there. But the main point of this lesson is I want you to be comfortable moving the jog wheel. And while we are not quite scratching yet, you can see that this demonstrates a lot of control, and you can really use the jog wheel to be able to get in there to the exact spot that you want. I also think it's pretty trippy to be able to do this in virtual reality like this. So I want you to give that a shot. I want you just to be able to grab the jog wheel, fast forward it, rewind it. Just get used to being able to grab the jog wheel and use it, and use your wrist to be able to do that. Once you're ready to move on, go ahead and click next to move on to the next lesson. Now, let's talk about something called needle search. This is a way that we can use our finger to move forward and backwards throughout the song to be able to find a point that we want to be able to jump to. So if I go ahead and hover over the player right between the jog wheel and the screen, you'll see this bar right here. This is our needle search. So if I go ahead and press that, I can hold it and then move this white line, which is basically our playhead. I can move that to wherever I want. So let's say I move it here, and then I can actually use this in combination with the jog wheel itself to get a lot tighter to the point that I want. And let's say, okay, that's where I want my new cue point to be. Now, another great way to use the needle search is to get back to the very beginning quickly. So instead of having to rewind this all the way back to the beginning by hand, I can use the needle search and grab it and bring it all the way back to the beginning. And then I can reset my cue point to be there as well. Great. So now what I want you to do is I want you to try it, and I want you to move the needle search to somewhere in the middle of the track, and then I want you to try to set a cue there. And then I want you to bring it back to the very beginning, and then I want you to set a cue there as well. So this is all, as you can see, it's all culminating into what we're putting together. And actually what we're going to do very shortly here is we're going to start to mix two songs. We call them lumberjacks. So everything that we're learning right now is, we call them lumberjacks. Come on in here, give that a shot, and when you're ready to move on, go ahead and click next to move on to the next lesson. Okay, let's talk about the volume. So right here in the mixer section, I know we've been spending a lot of time looking at the players themselves, but let's talk about the mixer section here. There is a volume control for each one of my players, and you can see I've got a volume fader here, and this is controlling this deck, and I've got a volume fader here, and this is controlling this deck. Now, you're also noticing that I'm using both of my hands. But we're not going to use both of our hands at the same time when we're mixing these songs together. So I just want you to be able to grab this volume fader and be able to move it up and down. You can slowly bring it up and down, or we can sort of quickly bring this up and down. Let me show you what this sounds like if you've got the song playing. It's a slow fade out, slow fade up, or quick fade down. Noticing that I can do this rhythmically as well, right? So volume fader, I want you to go ahead and try and grab it and try it slow, and then also try it fast. And when you're ready to move on, go ahead and click next, and we'll move on to our next lesson.